I'm calling the order of the January 24, 2024 meeting of the City of Walker Zoning Board of Appeals at 6:30 p.m. By the way of introduction, I will briefly explain the purpose of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The City of Walker has adopted a zoning ordinance. If a property owner wishes relief from a portion of the ordinance, State of Michigan Zoning Enabling Act provides for an avenue of appeal, hence the name Zoning Board of Appeals. The zoning board must find that 4 conditions exist in reviewing an application in order to grant a variance. If all 4 conditions are met, the board can grant an approval for a variance from the ordinance. The 4 conditions that must be met are extraordinary or exceptional circumstances, which apply to this parcel and do not apply generally to other properties in this district. Number 2, preservation and enjoyment of property rights that other properties in this district and vicinity possess. Number 3, the variance will not be of substantial detriment to the adjacent properties. And 4, the request is not of such general nature that an ordinance should be changed. Unlike a decision by the Planning Commission that must be approved or can be overturned by the City Commission, a decision by the Zoning Board of Appeals is not reviewed and cannot be overturned by the City Commission. The Zoning Enabling Act states that the decision of the Zoning Board of Appeals shall be final. A party aggrieved by the decision may appeal to the Circuit Court in the county in which the property is located. An appeal in the Circuit Court must be filed within 30 days of that decision. Okay, first order of business is to approve the minutes, and that's of April 12th. And I think it's just you and I were here at that time.
I think so. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
As written.
Can I support it too, or not?
I'll support it. I'm the only one. Okay. So motion by Randy, supported by Tom.
You got a vote?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading my. All in favor of approving? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, next item on the agenda is public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to have a discussion about anything other than what's going on tonight, they have about 5 minutes to discuss. Okay. State your name, if you would.
Based on the clarification of zoning, our building was sold quietly with nobody knowing it. The new tenant is taking it over and everybody has to move out. It's affecting all 4 tenants and about 30 people's employment. The decision that was made,
how's that? Yep. So I went through all the zoning notes, 371 pages, and couldn't find anything in there that there was a hearing on it. I know that Walker has a master plan. I support that. I'm not against the county, the village moving forward. But because the zoning is going to be changed from a C2 to a C1, that individual was allowed to purchase that building, even though that zoning is not, hasn't been put into effect. So I want to know, from our standpoint, how do we file an appeals on a clarification to protect the jobs and the people that are involved in that? So there's me. I have 7 employees. I have the whole south end of that building. Then there's Pop's Restaurant, who just got his eviction notice today, and he bought that business in August. He sold everything he had in Texas and came up and bought that, and just got his eviction notice today and is absolutely beside himself. That may actually bankrupt him. The handyman is so fed up. I spoke with him this morning. He's working with Ace to get his franchise out of Walker. He's disgusted. He's trying to move to Plainfield because he's got to keep his employees intact, and he has a 10-year agreement with Ace for his franchise. And if he's not, that Ace had to approve his location in order to keep his franchise. And if he moves out, he stands to lose his franchise, so he's trying to transfer his franchise over to Plainfield. So I'm just asking, how do we as citizens appeal a decision that's not even on the books? But that decision has affected all of us. I'm not here to yell, scream, holler, any of that. I'm just trying to figure out what, we got attorneys involved, what and how do we do that through the city process?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd be happy to speak with you more outside of the meeting or hear other applicants notwithstanding. I'm aware of the property you're talking about. To the best of my knowledge, the use for the animal clinic is allowed. There was no additional change required.
It was never allowed. I have the previous, when I rented that facility, it was not allowed. That was a C2. That's allowed under C1. And I spoke last week, and I've called the mayor 3 times and have left messages with no return call. The gentleman who just walked out. So, and you were here last week too, right, Paula? And my door's open. The only person who's come to see me and sit down with us and try to figure it out is Steve Gilbert. And so what I've done is I've purchased that commercial land right across from on Remembrance, right across from where the heating contractor is, just before you get, or just after you, River City Auto.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I have to do something. I'm 64 years old, but I have 7 employees that are counting on paying their mortgages and their car payments, and we have to do something to figure this out. So we made an offer on that lot. We purchased that lot. I'm full steam ahead trying to get engineering on it, try to figure out a building to do what we got to do. But to your question, that zoning somehow was changed. That was not the zoning when I bought, or when I purchased or moved into that 7 years ago.
I'd be happy to talk with you more and learn about the information that you have. The C2 district allows explicitly here as the first principal use, all principal uses allowed in the C1 district. So it builds upon and adds more to what the C1 allows. There's more allowed in the C2 than the C1, but everything allowed in C1 is also allowed in C2. I
Under
understand.
the new plan or under the
Under
old plan?
the existing current ordinance. The ordinance adopted by the city commission on Monday night will go into effect in approximately 2 weeks.
So is it under that?
Under the current ordinance effective
Okay.
today,
Oh, wait a minute, the one affected today, not the new one that's being voted in.
it is also allowed in the new one, but it is allowed under the ordinance effective today.
And based on my conversation with our state representative, a restaurant and a animal clinic cannot or can be in the same facility?
I would have to look that up. I don't know that off the top of my head. That's more of a building code question than a
Yeah.
zoning question.
Okay, so let's say that is, and you would know more than me. How do we appeal that? How do we, as tenants, what recourse do we have on that through the city?
I believe that to be a private matter, not a city matter between yourself and your landlord. But I'm happy, again, to meet with you outside of the meeting and see if there's any other assistance that I can provide.
Okay, I'll give you a call and we'll sit down and talk about it,
Okay.
okay?
Yeah, do that, because I heard that today for the first time.
It's a disaster.
But thanks for sharing that with us.
It's
Thanks for
a-
sharing that with us, because that's, yeah. Yeah, but I did hear the rumor mill this afternoon, about
Yeah,
that.
when I took over that end of the building, Steve Visser owned that
Right.
building. And he rented it to me at a fair price because it had been empty for 11 years. And I went in and rehabbed the whole thing. We have about 45,000 in the infrastructure in there
Right.
just for our equipment and machinery. And we had an option to buy the building, but we never knew it was even for sale. So now it's, I mean, whatever, we're moving forward, but still, how does something like that happen is just, beyond us,
Right.
so. But I'll gladly call you, Paula, and try to figure it out, so.
Thanks, Dave.
All right,
Yep.
thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Sir, I have a copy of my business card if you would call.
Okay, is there anyone else that has any comments that don't pertain to tonight that? Okay. Hearing none, we have three other items of business on the agenda. The first is case 23-003 for 4091 Hall Street Southwest. This is a dimensional variance request seeking relief from section 94338-A and 94-352 3B, regulations for accessory building locations. We'll begin, first the staff will give an overview of the case, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to speak after Paula speaks about it. And then next we have the applicant will have a chance to review, the board will close the public hearing, and then to discuss the case and approve the motion and approve, deny, or whatever. So anyways, Paula, would you like to begin?
Thank you, Chair. I will pull my staff report up on screen as reference. As stated, this is a project, or a case about 4091 Hall Street Southwest. I pulled, so here's the neighborhood we're looking at just for reference. This is Wilson. We're south of Lake Michigan Drive. Here's Hall Street, and the property in question is in here. You can see the character of the neighborhood. It's fairly spread apart. There are homes on large size lots, primarily residential in character. The owner of the property submitted an application for the dimensional variance. He's asking to be allowed to put an accessory building, a detached accessory building, in the side yard. The City of Walker zoning ordinance, as I copied for you here in the report, in two different areas, in the regulations for accessory buildings and swimming pools, and again, a few sections later in the area for accessory buildings and private garages, both state, as underlined, all accessory buildings shall be located in the rear yard. In this case, the applicant is stating that there are reasons he cannot put an accessory building in the rear yard of his property, and thus he is requesting the variance to be allowed to put an additional accessory building, which is permitted. An additional accessory building is permitted. That's not what the variance is about. It's about the location of that building. The building he has proposed and is seen later in the packet is of an appropriate size and scale. The setbacks would be allowed if side yard locations were permitted. And so pending a variance, if it were to be granted by the board, the applicant would apply to the Community Development Department for an accessory building, and if the variance were granted, it would move forward. Okay. If the variance is denied, that ends this, and he would have to find a different location in order to try to put his accessory building in the rear yard. Here, straightforwardly applying these sections of the ordinance would permit an accessory building of the size the applicant is requesting, and that the building be located in the rear yard. The variance requested would allow it to be in the side yard. You would still have to comply with all other relevant sections of the zoning code for accessory buildings, such as those relating to size, height, setback, etc. The chair read the 4 standards earlier on. I prepared for the commission both the applicant's responses, which are in his own words later and copied exactly here, regarding exceptional or extraordinary circumstances, preservation of property rights, no substantial detriment to surrounding properties, and is not a recurrent request that would warrant a change in zoning, or in the zoning ordinance writ large. I also provided some considerations for the board. If you walk through the standards during your fact finding, there's some questions there that can guide your decision making. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have about the property, or the applicant can speak more to the property than I can, but about the process and procedure for reviewing a dimensional variance.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Okay, would the applicant like to address the board? If you could state your name for us,
My
please.
name is Andrew Bozum. I reside at 4091 Hall Street. And thank you guys for hearing my appeal today. So I have my survey. Paul, I didn't see it in the packet, I don't think. But I have one that's color coded for you guys as well, if you'd like that.
Yes, please.
It just breaks it down a little better than a black and white standard copy. Paul, I have one for you as well.
Thank you, Paul.
So my wife and I moved into this property last January. We love it. We're really glad to be there. It's everything we need, except for in terms of garage space. So it was the one compromise. As we grow our family, the rest of the house fit our needs. So that is why I'm attempting to build this. You'll see on the survey, the wetland in the back is rather large. The lot lines are odd. It's not a nice rectangular lot like you would expect for a lot of this size. Normally an 1.5 acre lot, people can find a place to put something in the back of their yard. With that being said, I also have a very large power line and data line that run just underneath, or just behind my house, and the data line is not very far off the ground. So it restricts both with an easement where I can put it, and also based on height, I can't put anything under it either, because I will hit the data line. The orange box there, it went through Kent Environmental Health. They were kind enough to move my septic reserve where that orange box is, so that's the new septic reserve area there. So based on the size of the garage and the space I require, with my well being on the west side of the property, northwest side, I just don't have any location. My septic area is in front of my house because of the wetland. So I can't put a driveway anywhere else. I can't go to the left side of the property because I don't have enough room. There's not enough setback to put another driveway there, even to get a car through, really. So that is why I'm requesting the appeal.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you thinking where this orange spot is where you want to put it, or is that?
That's the septic reserve. So
Okay,
just
so-
to the right of there, the yellow box would be the
Okay,
garage.
so you're out in I actually was out to your property yesterday, and you probably saw my
I
footprints.
saw your footprints. I was wondering who was out there. I said, it's either deer or somebody was looking around.
Yeah, and, but that also is getting near those trees in kind of a low area, isn't it, over?
Yeah, so that low area, along with Kent Environmental, that was one of the things. I will have to fill some of that area to bring the grade up because I have a mound septic system. So some of that will be graded out, and I will clear some of those trees. Some of them are dead. I've walked through it. The power company, if you had walked back there, the power company actually cleared a large section of those trees in the back there before I moved in, because they had fallen on the line about 2 years ago.
There's some branches on there yet.
Yeah, so where the back of that garage is, part of it will be in the clearing, and then I'll have to remove a few trees just to get the barn in there. The distance, so on here, you'll see that there's a dotted line I had drawn across there. So to make it look decent with the home, I made the decision to put it in, knowing that I'd have to get a side yard variance to put it in line with the home. The architecture of the garage, it's going to match the exterior of my home currently with
Okay.
vertical siding, just as it is, and everything should match my pre-existing garage. So I don't think it'll be an eyesore out there.
No, it's gonna look nice.
Yeah, so I think it should look very nice.
How big is this?
It's 32 by 36, so
Okay.
it's just under 1,200 square foot. I think it's 1156.
Okay.
And for the lot size, my max is 1,200 square
But
foot.
yeah, because I assumed it would have been closer to the, based on how the ground kind of, you ended up with almost a wetland next to you too. in those
Yeah,
trees, but-
I did. So in the woods there is for drainage reasons is the best. Plus it gives enough of a setback off the house that for my wife, it's not an eyesore that our bedroom looks out into those woods. So it's not right next to the home. But it's far enough away from the neighbor up at the corner of Hall and Kinney that in the summertime you can't see through. So it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Now, with the power lines, do you have to keep access to them, don't you? I mean, they have to have access to be able to get in there, and you couldn't, what I'm saying is you couldn't go underneath that power line because they would need access to that power line.
Correct.
If I'm,
To the best of my knowledge, they need access to be able to work on that power line. And even if they said, yeah, sure, you can put it under our easement, you can build underneath it, I don't have the height. So there's a deck off the back of my
Yeah,
home
I
that you
saw
can
that.
see on there. The power line standing off the deck, the data version for your cable and internet is at eye level when you're standing on my deck.
yeah,
So,
okay. Anyone else have a question? Tom?
The data line just baffles me, how it can be 6 feet high.
well,
And they have an easement to do that, I assume.
yes, so it's high off the ground. It's a ranch home, but the back, it's a walkout.
Yeah.
So it's high off the ground. I think, so I've been looking over this since we moved in, and I've called, like, the power company and Comcast. The most I could see, and I very well could be wrong, but they only need to be, because it's not supplying electricity, the highest it has to be off the ground is 7 foot through the back of a run like that.
Does anybody have anything behind those power lines? Any of your neighbors?
No. You mean,
Because I drove by there today and it looked like a couple of them a couple of your neighbors do have something behind their
yeah,
house.
yes,
I couldn't tell if they were behind the power lines or in front of them.
they are behind them. So my neighbors to the west do have a barn. Both of them have barns behind them, but the power line runs on a diagonal, as you see. It gets closer to the road there. So I actually have a pole in the backyard too. And as it goes up towards Kinney, it gets further into the woods. It continues to run through the woods. The other ones are fortunate enough too that they don't have lowland in the back of their home, so they were able to put it further back. So everything from both sides, from Kinney and Hall, drain into my backyard.
Yeah, I mean, your backyard clearly is lower.
Yep.
But what I'm just trying to get at is, you could, if you did have dry back there,
Yes.
you could put something back there.
Only if it were dry, yeah.
Right, but, so it's really not a power line issue, it's a wetlands issue.
Yes, the wetlands in conjunction with having that power line create that problem. If the line wasn't there on the east side of the property, I might have been able to maybe sneak it further back because I would be underneath where the current line is. But yes, it's primarily a wetlands issue and a lot shape issue.
Right, okay, and as you said, it is very steep on that side where you want to put this thing, so you're gonna have to raise it up quite a bit.
Yeah, so I've been working, I hired, an architect to do the design, and obviously I'll have a professionals out there to do the work. When I talked, because I have to get a right-of-way permit as well for a second driveway. So about a year ago, I emailed about that, and they told me, based on what they saw this drawing a year ago, that would be permitted, and Hall does not have any sewer or drain system, so it will just be sloped and then probably tiling on the side of that driveway to mitigate water. So it will gradually go down similar to how my house does.
All right, so, Mr. Chairman, just for me, it seems to me like right now, if it is all wetland back there, he basically can't use half his property.
Correct.
And so the only question I would have was, how do we convince ourselves, or how do I convince myself that that is in fact true? It is all wetland, it really can't be used. And if that's the case, then it does seem like this is one of those unique circumstances where you've got substantial reasons based upon the 4 criteria. Driving through the neighborhood, I've never driven through that neighborhood. All really cool custom homes, very unique area. As long as and maybe we could put a condition, sounds like you're gonna do it, but I would hate to see you put a pole barn there, right? So as long as it's in, it was in the spirit of the neighborhood.
Yeah,
And the
which
character of the
according to
community,
his
which the
diagram,
drawing
yeah.
shows, but I don't, would he be required to use that drawing? I don't know.
A pole
that would
barn,
be-
yeah, is, I think, already, based on me reading the zoning ordinance for my neighborhood, I'm not allowed to put one anyways.
Okay.
It has to be a garage.
Thank you.
Yep.
That's good to know. Yeah, so for me, it would be all about the wetlands question.
Okay. Paula, do we need to open the public hearing? Did I miss that? I'm sorry.
The public hearing is next after the applicant statement.
Okay, all right. It's been a while since we had a meeting, I just want to make sure I'm in line with everything, so. But yeah, Tom, that's exactly what I had seen when I was out there. I mean, the back would be, you don't know how much fill you'd have to be to bring in to do that back and whatever, so.
Yeah, and it's a recognized wetland. When I look up
Yeah.
wetland maps, it's all recognized there. Even going back, working with Kent Environmental Health, they had that wetland map because that influenced their decision on whether or not they would approve the moving of my septic reserve area to where it's located on this map. So they had gone through that and said, yeah, here's where your wetland is. Sorry. And I don't think that the wetland predates, it goes all the way back to when there were plat maps in the 1930s on the property. That's how far back I've looked. So I don't think I'd have much success in moving
Filling
that.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
filling that.
Yeah, so. Anyone else? Dan? No. Randy?
I'm perfectly fine with the wetland things. I don't know, Tom, if you had the opportunity when you went by to look from Kenny west down that power line in the backyard, I don't know if you turned the corner or not, but it kind of gives you, like your question was, it answers your question about how that power line is adequate off the ground, but because of his lot and the walkout, it seems lower, which makes it the difficulty. And then as we get to the west, it comes up a hill, so those people with the sheds and a little bit smaller single-story garages, I think, had it, you get a little more clearance, which, so, I don't know if that helped you, but if you were, I happened to take a look at that, looking west there from Kinney, and it gives you so if that answer is part of his application, I would consider that a valid point also, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, motion to open public hearing,
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
support by Dan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Meeting's open. Okay, I was out there, saw the same thing as what Dave was talking about, and I don't know that he has any options. That's in his, you saw that, how his front yard's higher than the backyard there, or side yard, so. And apparently, the size is correct to fit there. I mean, it's not a size issue, it's just a location, right, is what we're, okay.
If there's no public comment, I'd encourage you to consider closing the public hearing and then moving on to deliberation.
Oh, okay. Okay, so close the hearing?
We got
Okay.
someone back here who wants to speak.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Mark Byerline. I live at 4133 Hall Street,
Okay,
3 doors to the west of Andrew. I've never met Andrew before, and I'm actually here on his behalf. He doesn't realize it, but, I think it's a very appropriate ask of the appeal, to appeal the zoning because of just the way his land lays. I mean, if you go off from Hall Street in Kinney, he is definitely down into the wetlands area, and there is no other way, so I'm, say, 3 doors down, and I have, most of mine is high ground too, where it drops off. I get halfway out into the woods, it does drop down several feet, and I do know the water will run his direction. We hear the frogs all summer long. It's like, you don't need a sound machine when you got tree frogs and whatever, just chirping all night. So, I just say on his behalf, I think it's a great ask. Looks like his design is nice. He's put the effort into making it appealing, but also to follow the guidelines set up by the city of Walker. And, I think, in my opinion, you should allow it.
okay.
So, any other questions for me as a neighbor, you can certainly ask, but, yeah, it's mostly wooded, especially on my side, on that north side of, Hall Street. And, the trees really block noise and whatever from Hall Street and from Kinney going the other direction, so I don't think visually it's an impairment of any kind,
Okay,
so, all right?
appreciate your comment, thank you
bet.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion to close the hearing.
I can make a motion to close
Okay.
I can make a motion to close the
Okay,
public hearing.
motion by Randy. Support by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing's closed. Okay, any comments? Tom kinda shared his with us, that,
By all accounts, from what I've heard, it seems like it checks out. Nice to hear some support and some positivity from a neighbor too,
Yes.
to be honest.
Yep.
So that's nice.
yep. Randy?
I'm good. I'm ready for a motion, but I'm
Okay.
not, unless any of the other folks have other questions,
I would just encourage you to look through the standards
Okay.
in the report. I can also pull
I
them
did
up
read through them, but we should probably do that.
on the screen.
Okay, okay, exceptional or extraordinary circumstances, I think that those have been met, based on the wetlands and the configuration he has with where his house is, and I don't think there's anything he could do with that back, and especially if it's such a huge area, but seems logical, and I think that really is met. Preservation of rights, he certainly has the right to have the same enjoyment and use of his property as anyone else does in the neighborhood, and this will allow that. So I think that's met. No substantial detriment, obviously, from the drawing, and they shared with us, it's gonna be a very attractive building, it's going to match his house, and I think that's certainly not gonna be a detriment, and obviously, it's not gonna be a recurring request, so, that, obviously, it's a one-time deal, and I think that, I think he meets all four of these circumstances, so. With that, we are ready for motion. And
Pull up his motion.
you got right, yes, you got right in front of
Unless
you.
you wanna make the motion, yeah, that's fine.
My first day, I'm gonna pass to you.
You got right there.
Oh, this is a different.
Oh, I thought it was the first.
Yeah, I have it, I can make the motion.
Go ahead.
Make a motion to approve the request for 4191 Hall Street Southwest for dimensional variance per sections 94 TAC 338 and 94 TAC 353 Bravo of the zoning ordinance, to allow an accessory building to be located in the side yard based upon the findings of fact derived tonight, and the meeting of the four conditions, or the four standards of the test for a variance. I would ask for the condition that the build is just substantially in accordance with what was submitted tonight.
Okay. Did you say 4191 when you,
I don't know.
Okay.
I said,
all right, okay, all right. That's what I thought I heard, I just want to make sure, so. Okay, we have a motion by Tom, we have support?
Support, I'll
Support by
second.
Randy. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's passed.
Thank you.
So I need you, I need your signature up here with Paula, so. He did.
He walked right across the street.
I thought that's where the shed was gonna go.
Yeah, that's what, I saw that in the,
Well, it's the only level area that was there.
right.
And I mean, I looked up here and this is trees and stuff too, and I'm like, oh.
It even adds to the difficulty, yeah, it's all good stuff. Recycle. I'm gonna have to get paper for the next meeting. I just can't see that. Kids.
There you go.
Tell ya, it ain't easy being old.
It's not for the faint of heart, is it? You bet. You bet, take care.
Good luck.
Okay, second item on the agenda is a judge similar, and it involves the applicant, Medler Electric, Jeremy Hamlin, 3905 Remembrance, and the zoning district is C3, which is highway commercial. And it is, I'll just read the background here. It's applicant Jerry Hamlin of Medler Electric has applied for evaluation of whether the proposed use of the existing site for low-intensity wholesale and with retail and training activities use is similar to that permitted principal uses of compatible within the intent of the underlying C3 highway commercial zoning district. The zoning board of appeals will review as judged similar determination under 94-178-B-10 of the Walker zoning ordinance. So what we have is the applicant here for, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Paula,
She's gonna go first, then
You
you're
want
gonna
me to
chance, yeah, thanks.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just give an overview.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I
You're
apologize.
doing excellent. You kicked off for me in a summary of the case. So I have my report here as well. This is a slightly different project or application than you just reviewed. Judged similar is a designation in the zoning ordinance. I have it pulled up here. You can see here on the list of principal uses, this is 94-178B10. Other uses determined by the Board of Zoning Appeals to be similar to the permitted principal uses in this zoning district and compatible with the intent of this zoning district. So unlike the 4 standards we used before, this statement here is the guide for the board in determining whether or not to grant this judged similar determination. You are tasked with looking at both the intent statement for the C3 district and the principal uses, which are all of the uses permitted in the C1, which is the local commercial district, as well as several additional uses for the C3 listed here: indoor retail sales and service, offices and telephone exchange buildings, motels and hotels, self-service laundry and dry cleaning facilities, automobile repair minor, indoor places of public assembly, milk distribution stations, and retail building supplies. So the ask from the applicant, in this case, regards a specific property, and we can talk about that property, but it really is larger than any particular property. It's looking at the C3 district as a whole. When a judged similar determination is made, it puts the list, on this list, that use. And so if another business with a similar use wanted to go into any C3 property, they would be allowed if the determination is made today that the proposed use is judged similar. And so it's a big ask of the board. I just want to make sure that everyone understands the question before the board tonight. In my staff report, I explain that walking through, and again, it's judged similar based on similarity to permitted principal uses already established in the zoning ordinance and compatibility with the intent of the underlying district, which in this case is the C3 Highway Commercial District. I will read the intent statement for the board and for the record. The C3 District Highway Commercial is to encourage the construction or continued use of land for commercial and service uses and to provide for orderly development and concentration of uses to satisfy the needs of modern commercial development where access is entirely dependent upon the automobile, and to provide suitable locations for such activities which function relatively independently of intensive pedestrian traffic and proximity to other firms. Typical activities in this district require direct automobile traffic access and visibility from the road and sufficient depth to provide for vehicle parking. But this district is not intended to accommodate and permitted uses exclude outdoor sales establishments. And I already went through the list of existing principal uses. Further, I prepared some questions for consideration for the board. Because we don't have those 4 standards that the board primarily uses, in order to guide fact-finding when we get to that point of the meeting, here are some questions for the board to consider. How does the proposed use align with the intent statement for the C3 district? How similar is the proposed use to other uses permitted? Think about things like traffic, delivery, clients. Are they of a similar use and intensity to other C3 businesses? Would this use fit on other C3 zoned properties in Walker? Because if this use is judged similar, it would be henceforth allowed as a principal use in the district. And how is the proposed use best concisely described? I did my best attempt, which I called, it's on here. Electrical equipment supplier, wholesale and retail. From what I was able to determine, the applicant might have a better term, or the board might wish to wordsmith a little what that is and come up with a definition for that use if it is judged similar. And are there any other districts which already allow this use? If there are Are there reasons it was previously included in those other districts, but restricted from the C3, not already written into the code for the C3? And are those reasons still relevant today? They may no longer be. So that is an overview. I'm happy to answer any procedural questions, to provide anything on the screen that the board may require.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Okay,
Brian, should I ask questions of Paula before the
yeah,
applicant
go
presents,
ahead.
or should I?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, maybe you can help me clarify. You put in the background, the proposed use is low-intensity wholesale with retail and training activities. What of those are variances? What of those are not uses that are already allowed, of those three things? And you can, when the applicant talks, you can certainly clarify that those aren't the right three things, but are we deciding if low-intensity wholesale is a use that's not in C3 currently, if retail is not, or if training, or all three?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for that. I would be happy to attempt to explain that more. Retail is allowed in the C3.
Okay.
On its face, retail is clearly allowed in this commercial district. Training facilities are allowed primarily within the office use, but many of the other uses have training as a secondary component. That's usually not a principal use. It carries along with a different use. From the initial staff review, that it's an electrical equipment supplier is how it was primarily presented, and in my looking into it, other community development department staff looking into it, that wholesale use is not traditionally allowed in the C3. There may be one or two. They are probably variances or very minor accessory uses to another permitted principal use. In this case, it was the staff determination that that is the primary use. Whether the board wishes to, if it is judged similar, to narrow that scope to electrical equipment supplier as I provided, or broaden that more to that low intensity wholesale, or another determination is made by the board. It's a little bit of an open-ended question, and I would defer to the applicant on exactly what they would classify their particular
Okay, yeah,
use
we
as.
can do that. You said low-intensity wholesale is the staff's view of
Is not on the list of permitted uses
Right,
for
okay.
the C3. We
And
see
who
that
among-
more in the industrial.
and who among the staff are you talking about?
That'd be primarily myself, the zoning administrator, Megan Gorby, and Assistant City Manager, Community Development Director, Frank Wash.
Okay. Okay. The other thing I note, Chairman, and it's a bit of background on where the city commission is right now on some of these issues, and it's a bit of background on where we think we want to go. This is C3 right now. I thought when we passed the new zoning ordinance on the second read on Monday night, that was in force. You're saying it's another 2 weeks before it takes over.
The zoning ordinance provisions, it needs to be published in the paper, and then it goes into effect, and I can't remember the exact number, it's 7 or 14 days after it's published in the paper of record.
Okay, so the interesting bit about that is the use substantially changes in 2 weeks. Substantially. So right now, what C3 is defined as, what you just read to us about, you have to have a car, there is no pedestrian traffic. In 2 weeks, this becomes C2, correct? And in C2, it envisions intense pedestrian activity. So the future vision for this part of the city is dramatically different in a couple weeks. It's already that way in our master plan. It'll be in the zoning in 2 weeks. So the concern I have when we have this discussion is how much should we enforce and view the master plan? And we're having the same discussion at Planning Commission, and you know how I feel about it. And we're having the same discussion at City Commission, and you know how I feel about it. So you know where I'm going to go here, but we can see what the applicant has to say. But we are, in my view, we're not doing a very good job of taking into account the future vision for the city when we look at only zoning in a microcosm. And that's something we want to try and change. So that's the liaison piece of me, if you will. That's all I got for now.
Okay. Anything else, Paula? Okay. All right. Sorry about that. We don't get these Judge Simlers that often, so it's kind of a little different, but, could you state your name and,
Hi, my name is Jeremy Hamlin. I'm our Vice President of Operations with Miller Electric.
okay,
I'm
thank you.
accompanied here also by Bill Michael. He sits back here. He is our CEO and President. So maybe if there's a question I can't answer, maybe he can help out if that's okay.
Okay,
Is the mic on?
Yeah, can you turn it on,
Okay.
please? Should be right on top there.
Is that better?
There's a button down there. You need to.
I see a light here. It looks like it's on.
It's on.
All right.
okay.
So yes, we're very interested in this building because this building in this community fits basically our operations. So when we typically look for a building, we're looking for storage space and also a counter area, and we do want to see office space. And in this particular building, it has all these elements ready to go. It's move-in ready for us. So a good majority of the building is storage space in the back, which is what we typically find in our branches. We've got 14 branches in the state of Michigan. And so they're set up somewhat similar to this. And when you enter into the front entrance of this building, there's a counter area. And that's for an area that's there now, and that's what we would continue to use, just as it pretty much is. This would be an area that we would display our products. We are an electrical wholesaler. So I will go ahead and I'll confirm that. That's what we are. However, we do sell to the public, and so I guess if you want to say there is a retail element to our business. So if there's homeowners that want to come in and they want to look for electrical supplies, we're going to help them out and sell them those products. And in our counter area, that's what we would put on display is tools, hand tools, just different lighting, electrical supplies that a residential consumer could use. The training room that you were discussing, the training operations in this facility, up in the upstairs mezzanine area, there's a training room already built, already designed for us. That fits really well into our vision that we want to bring to this community, to the Grand Rapids area, is we'd like to bring in our customers to come in and where we would present training opportunities for our customers. It would not be a primary activity. We probably would put trainings on. It'd be pretty sporadic early on, but I would imagine that it would, it could be maybe once a month type of thing eventually. So that's hopefully kind of gives you an idea of what well, I guess I can give you a little bit more about a little bit of our operation, but we do, for the most part, we have an outside salesperson on staff, and their primary responsibility is to call on the area accounts and get customer needs, get their orders for our customers, and our customers are commercial base. For the most part, as I mentioned, we do have a residential or retail element, but for the most part, it is other commercial accounts, and they can range from anything from electricians, other commercial. You just think about every type of business uses energy, electrical supplies, so we really can be a target for just about any commercial business. But industrial accounts are big key, institutions, so really just about every element. As far as in the industry, we really serve. We've got a real broad range of customers. We do a lot of deliveries, so we do have a delivery van typically, and that's what we would use in this situation here as well. We would not have any outside storage. Everything would be stored inside. So really, when we looked at this building and the current owner that's in the building and in their operations right now, we just feel that it's a very similar operation. I would say we're a little bit lighter because the current owner is doing some manufacturing, which is something we will not do. We're not involved in manufacturing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, we need to open public hearing, okay. Motion to open public hearing.
I can make a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion by Randy,
Support.
support by Dan. All in favor, open the hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, hearing's open. Okay, so it's mostly wholesale,
Yes.
probably 90-10 or 80-20,
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, that's probably good.
so you don't have a whole lot of outside traffic. I know we had down in Grand Rapids, they had some off-A's and a couple other
Sure.
places that were sound somewhat similar to what you're describing, where they got some foot traffic in there, but a lot of those electricians coming in to buy the supplies or pick them up or whatever, so. How many employees will you have there?
2 to 4, starting
Yeah,
out.
so nothing, okay. So, understanding the C3 that we have, how do you, and this is the question Paula had, how do you align with that? With the wholesale, I mean, that's not a normal fit for the C3.
Sure, sure, and we can, we can see that there could be, that's why we're here. We do sell to the public though, so the doors will be open. And you're familiar with the Home Depots and the hardware stores. Hardware stores sell a limited supply of electrical supplies. We have quite a bit more inventory typically. But customers that would look for something like that type of material could find that in our establishment. From my understanding, as I had mentioned before, is the current operations in place right now. We feel that it would be very similar to what the operation is right now. In fact, maybe a little bit lighter, considering that we're not doing any manufacturing.
Yeah, I think they did mostly manufacturing, they're building their products and stuff, so. Okay, I looked at some of your other sites, locations in Traverse City, Ludington, Muskegon, Kalamazoo, or Battle Creek, I guess they call it, Lansing and whatnot, and it looked like most all of your other buildings were more of almost a light industrial type area, compared to where we are now or where you're proposed to go. Is that pretty much, I mean, every one of them that I looked at looked like they were more of in a lighter industrial type of environment.
Yeah, I would say that's
Is it?
That's
Okay.
pretty fair.
So this would be kind of
to say.
a little different, so. Anyone else got any questions? Okay, Tom?
It doesn't look like you're changing the exterior of the building much at all. It's gonna look pretty much the same, is it? or
Correct, yeah, no plans to change.
You're just changing the guts inside, is that right?
There's not really a whole lot there. I mean, just that, as I mentioned, the building's pretty much moving ready for us. There are some walls, I think we kind of talked about, just maybe,
light walls that were put up that basically you can take down.
Thanks.
yeah, moving a staircase, I think, something like that, but I think the space that's used right now is basically gonna continue to be used in the same manner.
So I have a question, I think, Mr. Chairman. So when the product comes in, I just have this vision, or maybe nightmare, of a two-wheel thing sitting in a parking lot with a big old spool that we see Consumers Energy running down the road with behind their big trucks. Is any of that gonna happen there? I mean, do you sell wire? I mean, when you say wholesale, I mean, what? I mean, I'd like to know a little bit about more
Sure.
what product you're selling wholesale versus, I don't want to Aetna Supply here with some underground pipe or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, no,
we don't wanna see
yeah.
that.
Conduit?
Yeah, we understand from the ordinance, I think, what we saw was that, you didn't want to see any outdoor storage and that. And no, we would not do that. And so when we do get supplies, we do sell wire. That would be stored in the warehouse or in the storage area.
So if I'm an electrical contractor and I want to come in and buy some what is it, 14 something wire?
Sure, yeah, you've got it.
I mean, and I envision going to Home Depot and just pulling them off the shelf, but I mean, I can come to you and get the same product or a
Yes.
similar product in a box or off a spool, how many
Yes.
feet I want, and then I come to your counter, and you either go around back where Dennis has it now and goes out the side door and pick it up, so
That's, yep,
that, I kinda see how your business would work
yes.
there.
I think you described it well.
You have a showroom in the front, and
Yes.
counters there for your service technicians, and then all your supplies are in the warehouse. Your client then can either walk around or drive around back, load his equipment by the side door via the overhead doors on the north side, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
And nothing in the parking lot. Dennis never had anything there. I mean, we wouldn't expect anything different. of
No,
this.
correct, no, that's fine for us, we don't.
Is that how your other operations operate typically then, like the other locations that Brian was talking about, or is it just because this fits?
Yeah, so, that's a good point. When you do look at our other operations, that's more of a full scale, large scale. We do have a different strategy with this facility. And that is gonna involve also with some of the products that we're gonna focus in and some of the customer base that we'll focus in. It'll be more, a lot of the controls and automation, types products. And so what we wanna do is basically supplement those sales with our traditional type of business, but on just on a smaller scale. So as you would see the other branch locations that we do have, it's not gonna look exactly the same. And so again, I would go back to, it's a lighter version, if you will, from our traditional, supply branches.
Yeah,
If
because
that kinda
the ones
helps.
I was looking at, and it was probably half to three-quarters of what you guys have, but they all look more of the industrial type or light industrial type of environment, and that's why I'm like, it just didn't seem to fit.
Yeah,
but-
you might see where we would have, in some of our branches, we will have outdoor storage where we'll store pipe and, well, a lot of times it's pipe. I'll say, we would not do that here. And that would not be a big focus for us, is to come in and to market specifically to electrical contractors necessarily.
So can I shift gears to Paula a minute? So this is a use variance, so it's kind of a little more difficult for us. Can that be a condition if we were to approve it, or would that, or does it have to just be a wholesale, electrical equipment wholesaler? I mean, can we put conditions on uses, on the use variance like we do with this?
Well, it's not a variance. A use variance is a specific thing. This is a judge similar, which on
Okay.
that space, I understand sounds alike.
Okay.
In this case, judge similar would add the permitted use as defined by the board to the list of permitted uses for the C3. What is the C3 today? And that would carry forward into what is the new C2 with the new ordinance going into effect. The board could choose, I put that in there pretty intentionally, the board can choose how to define that. You could be very narrow in your description if you feel this use and perhaps even this use in this particular building is a good fit. But you want to narrow the scope so that it would protect against, I mean, you see, for example, a lot of Alpine Avenue south of the highway is in what is now C3. So you see a lot of small commercial outlots. There's a lot of like tire shops in the C3 and some fast food restaurants in the C3. There's a lot of C3 as well further down Remembrance, near Remembrance and Leonard. You can think about the car wash there, a couple of the restaurants there. Those are C3 zoned properties. So if you could be very careful in the crafting of the language for what the permitted use would be. But beyond that, because it's a judge similar, the conditions are a little bit difficult.
Thank you.
Tom?
I don't have any other questions for, other than deliberation.
Yeah,
Okay.
same.
So the C3, I mean, from what I gather from the C3, it's a lot of light, mostly retail type stuff. I mean, light, the childcare center, the barber shop and vet office, that kind of thing. I don't know how this fits into, I mean, you're bumping up to a neighborhood, you know, more residential all along that whole corridor. Traffic, what do you anticipate for traffic? You probably don't really know because it's kind of a modified store from what you're normally used to. You don't know what to anticipate as far as coming and going for traffic and that kind of thing. I mean, delivery trucks,
Yeah, our delivery trucks would be light on our deliveries. So I would say it'd be limited. Our hours would be, I think, somewhat similar to the existing hours that the owner has right now. We would be a 7 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, so no weekends. But I hope that answers.
yeah,
your question.
I'm thinking across the street, it's all residential, across the street from there. And, you know, you get the barber shop, you get probably most of the people coming and going during the day, but, you know, I just wonder about the influx of traffic to the neighborhood. I mean, it's not your typical, type of business there, you know, I mean, and I was in my mind trying to remember or think of something similar to what you're asking in a C3, and I couldn't come up with, you know, a similar type of operation in the C3, but, sure. Can you just come up to the microphone?
I'm Bill Michael. Our counter traffic in all of our locations is 20% of our business. I
Okay.
don't expect that here. I'm thinking 10, and that's very low. We don't have cars running in like a drive-through or anything like that. Maybe 1 or 2 customers at a time that come in and park, and we wait on and they go, and it's just not, that's like that in all of our locations. I would anticipate the same thing in this location. And to maybe add a little bit of context to the way our buildings look, some of those, 2 of those ones you listed are, in Battle Creek was an old grocery store, so was Lansing.
Yeah,
The Muskegon one was a bread distribution place, so, I mean, they're not, as a matter of fact, the Muskegon one's right next to a neighborhood too, so. Ludington is in an industrial area. Which other ones did you mention? Traverse City, that's in
and I
an
looked at
industrial area.
Alma, Bay City.
Bay Cities.
Saginaw,
We're not in Saginaw.
Lansing.
Yeah,
Battle
grocery
Creek
store,
and-
yeah. Yeah, that's in a neighborhood area too, it's an old grocery store.
Well, I was just kind of curious on where your existing places were, and they were all more of a light industrial type of environment compared to dropping into a neighborhood.
Yeah, that's what, you know, kind of the appeal for this particular building, again, is it goes with our strategy is not to go in as a typical operation that we have in those facilities right there, where we're a full-on wholesale supplier, selling electrical supplies only. This is a little bit different with the different types of products. So it's, you know, we are looking to have a little bit more curbside appeal. We're expecting to have, you know, we are expecting to have more commercial accounts for sure, that I think would draw to the building itself. You know, when we talk about the training facility, trainings could be once a month. This just has a better curb appeal for that type of operation. And as I mentioned, the training room that's already in place right now is set up really nice, that we think would provide that training.
Yeah, you know, I've been to the building, and it's a beautiful building for exactly what you're wanting. I'm struggling with a C3, you know, I mean, is that the intent of that location, you know, to put in that kind of a business in there, so.
Yeah, that's kind of why we were thinking it, Judge Similar. Dennis has customers that walk into his front counter area and go out back and bring the material up that they want. That's pretty much exactly what we're doing, it's just different products.
Different product, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Anything else from the board? No? Okay. Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Proposed by
Thank you.
Randy,
Support.
support by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, hearing's closed. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, nothing, these comments have nothing to do with the business that is asking for this request. I'd love to have them in the city of Walker. And I respect their reasoning, and I respect why they came into this spot because of the way it's been in the past. But we did a lot of work in 2020 to write a new master plan with a new vision for the city. Our master plan calls for this area of the city to be, it's not in the new overlay, it's north of the new overlay, right? Yeah, but it still calls for this area to be mixed-use neighborhood node, i.e. a place you can come and do a few things at once. In fact, I could show you, here's what the C2 is going to look like. So as it goes from C3 to C2, we envision it becoming more of a center kind of gathering place in this area of the city, rather than what it has been. And what it has been is pretty close to what they're asking for, and that is understandable. But where we're trying to go is a different direction. And so I don't think we want to continue to allow these sorts of things that are working against our vision for the future. Paula had mentioned south of 3 Mile and Alpine. We had a spot there with a mixed-use requirement that the Planning Commission approved, and now it's a 5-box of stores, a Big B's and 5 other stores, not mixed use at all. They didn't follow the vision of our plan, the vision of our future for the city, and we got to get back there. I mean, I admit I'm brand new to this board, just came here tonight for the first time. I'm reading my Zoning Board of Appeals handbook this morning from the Michigan Municipal League, and it tells me in there you need to keep an eye on your master plan when you're making these decisions. And I'm also reading my Planning Commissioner's handbook from the Michigan Municipal League, and it says the same thing. So, as an elected official who's accountable by voters to the city, we publish a master plan. I'm accountable for that plan. So in the parts of the city that it says we're going to develop industrial, i.e. Northridge and that area of the city, and neighbors complain about their fruit trees are going away, they're in their backyard, I say, well, that's what our plan is, and it's published. We're accountable for that. This is a different case. We're accountable for what we're looking to do in the future, and so I would say not only is the use not something we want to just be able to allow on the new C2s in a couple of weeks all throughout the city, it's not in accordance with our vision for the future, so I'm a no. Thank you.
Former member of the Planning Commission, and I sincerely thank the gentleman here for coming to state their case for this as well. You know, we're in a state of transition here, and one thing I learned on the Planning Commission is, once again, when I only served in it for a couple months, we have to stick to the master plan, and this is a very important area for us. This is my backyard. I go by this trail every day with my kids, so I have I need to follow the master plan as well. I also have personal, opinions on things, but that's not important here. This is an important area, and I think it could be done closer to what we envision as opposed to what we have now. I'd be a no.
I guess I don't think it's right. There's an existing use there right now, so is he in violation then of what he's doing? I mean, is that right, Paul? Under the current zoning? I mean, if we're judging this similar, we have a little bit of a retail wholesale thing going on there now, so why, was he in violation if the existing owner, business owner?
It's an excellent question. I wish I would have brushed up on the history of that case earlier today, and I did not. I don't recall exactly how Stairway Concepts came to be there.
Well, we used to have Sobe Meats right next door to there. I don't know how that fits in your zoning guru stuff that we're doing here, but I have a problem with that. This has been a unique strip for many, many years. We had, all the way down to Bud's Hamburgers, all the way up to the Ace Hardware across the street over these years, and we've always seemed to be able to fit it in to make it work for our residents, whether we're elected or we're appointed. And I guess I'm struggling with this. This is a use that's, I don't know, how long have you been there? 20 years?
20 years. I actually unload large bunks of wood and stuff like that, too, so.
But I know my brain's just telling me if we have him there and he's gonna continue to do that, what's the problem with letting someone do something similar there? And I don't know, I don't really understand your business as far as where you make your money, but I mean, it seems like as little retail or walk-in traffic, car traffic, that's been there for 20 years. And I don't think by doing this use thing, we're gonna screw up any other C3 ways. If we dial it down, I think for these people, the applicant, why we can't dial the C3 down, that we're not gonna affect any other C3 or C2 as they come aboard in the next 2 weeks. So I just would like the board to maybe listen to me a little bit and see if there's any wiggle room, and if I made any common sense on this. That's the way I'm thinking about it, because if he's not in compliance now, I mean, what are we gonna do? Write him a ticket next week? We'll send out Miss Gorby out and write him a ticket, or what? I mean, maybe I'm being a little overbearing with that statement, but that's kind of my thoughts at the moment, so.
Well, I think, and Tom and Dan both hit on the master plan was redone in 2020. And with kind of the outlook of, and that's why the zoning, we went back through, we had the subcommittee where we went back through all the zoning changes that were gonna, so they have a vision of what that's gonna be, and what's there now doesn't necessarily, you're preparing yourself.
Well, yeah, so we go back and do this in 2020, do we go through that whole zoning district and make everybody comply and up to date to the current zoning of the master plan? I mean, to me, that's kind of what we're doing here.
Well, yeah.
I'm just talking about what I feel about it. So.
The answer to that is yes, we should have, and we didn't. We didn't go through. After your master plan is supposed to, it's kind of a lead-follow relationship where the zoning is the zoning. You come up with a master plan that's the guidance for the future. You're supposed to do a round turn on the zoning and put it in accordance with. We didn't do that. So we're in trouble in a couple places in the city. That doesn't mean you kick somebody out who's already there. It does not mean that. It just means the current zoning is the way it is. The way it was approved for that business, it was approved for that business. They're fine. We're making it clear to the community that our vision for the future is changing now. And so as we move forward, we're going to start driving towards that change. And that's where we are on this property right now. It's not that the old owner was doing anything wrong at all. It's just that we've described our intent and published our intent for the future.
So if the owner's not doing anything wrong at all, then what's the sense, why is it a problem when someone wants to come in and do the same thing?
It's not the same thing. There's a different use here. He wants to do the wholesale. That's a separate question. But even if it were exactly the same use, we've said that we're not going to go forward with this into the future in this area of the city. And we at City Commission, we listen routinely to an organization called Housing Next, and how we're going to be 35,000 houses short in the Kent County area in the next 15 years. Where are we going to put that housing? What developers want to do is they want to take every green field from here to Muskegon and put condos on it. In our high density parts of this city, Alpine, Standale, we got to start going vertical and making mixed use facilities where you can come in, you can park your car, you don't have to run around, you can go to a restaurant, you can go shop, you can plug in your electric vehicle, you can do all that stuff. And Remembrance, in a few areas, is another place where we can get sensibly vertical a little bit and create those downtown nodes, those community nodes, that we really don't have. We really don't have a downtown in this city. So that's the vision for the future. Are we gonna stand by it, or are we gonna, keep making exceptions? And if we keep making exceptions, we're just gonna become
Yeah, then we,
any other city that's just improving
and the
stuff.
master plan means nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke my piece, so I disagree, but.
Well, my feeling is to, you know, we need to follow the master plan and, I just don't think it's a good fit for where the city's going with that whole, Remembrance Avenue. Deal. Well, it doesn't really fit into exactly what Tom and Dan are saying. It doesn't really fit into the master plan where we want to be. I just spent a year and a half going through the zoning ordinances, reviewing every one of them, and it's not really the intent of what they want to do along that. You know, it doesn't really fit into the C3, so, and by putting it in there, I think you're just kicking a can down the road. So I would have to say no as well. Do we need to take a formal vote? Okay. All right, all those in favor, well, I need a motion, I guess. I don't know what the wording, Paula gave us the wording, so. Here, Dan or Tom, I don't think you're gonna do it.
No, I ain't doing it.
Sorry. Again, I'm not trying to be punitive here. I'm just trying to do what we're looking at for the future. But I would say that we could conclude that it's not similar to the current uses. It's not compatible with the attendance C3. It's fine regarding the parking and density as far as I heard. It's fine regarding the interior, the exterior uses. It's the interior, and then it's not consistent with the mixed-use neighborhood node design for the master plan. So I could make a motion along those lines, unless you disagreed with some of that.
Please.
Okay, I make a motion to deny the request for a judge similar determination with the C3 Highway Commercial District bought by the applicant on 3905 Remembrance Road. The use under consideration has been found by the ZBA to not be similar to the permitted uses in C3, not be compatible with the intent of the C3. The mixed use of employees, visitors, and others will be consistent with traffic-wise. The interior use will not be consistent with the permitted uses in C3, and it's not consistent with the mixed-use neighborhood node design in the master plan.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Support.
Support by Dan.
Before we vote, I have a question
Okay.
about procedure. Paula, there's 4 of us here, right? So how does this vote work? Can you explain that to the applicant and to us, please?
I will do my best.
Okay.
At the Zoning Board of Appeals, there are 7 members that sit on the board. We have 4 members present today. In a decision made by the Zoning Board of Appeals, a majority of members on the board must vote together for a motion to be passed, whether that's a motion to approve or deny. For the motion to move forward, to be approved, regardless of what the content, you need 4 members of the ZBA to vote in favor.
To be a quorum.
Yes, so we have 4 members, business can be done. If 4 members do not vote together, the case sits and comes back at another time for reevaluation, or the applicant could choose to withdraw it.
Okay.
So if the board is not in concurrent agreement with the 4 members present, and there has not been a vote taken yet, so we don't know that, but their formal action cannot take place without at least 4 members of the ZBA voting together.
Okay. Anything else?
That's a good question.
So for clarification, in my mind, if all four of us vote to deny the motion, or we approve Tom's motion, it's denied. If the vote's 3-1, then it just sits in limbo and the applicant can decide what he wants to do, whether he wants to come back to a full board or withdraw his application. Is that what I heard you say?
That is my understanding of how this works. Yes.
So if it's 3-1, it doesn't sit, does it? I mean, it gets approved, doesn't it?
No.
It does
No?
not get approved, because
Okay.
it's not about the number of members present at the board meeting, it's the number of members that sit on the board.
Okay,
So I just want to sorry, Mr. Chairman, I
No,
want
you're
to make
fine.
sure that the applicants understand what could happen after we vote, or whatever the vote might be.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay, so we have a motion by Tom, supported by Dan. Okay, all in favor of Tom's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Okay,
That motion was not approved. We did not have 4 members voting concurrently, so the board could choose to table until the next meeting date, and we can have more members present. It's-
it's really up to the applicant, I would think, not so much us. I mean, we'll go along with whatever the applicant would like, but, hearing that,
Yeah, do you need our decision tonight?
no, I guess not.
When is the next review that you would have your full board?
Good question. Well,
The Zoning Board of Appeals meets on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month as needed. In February, those dates are February 14 and February 28. February 14th is a tough meeting date.
yeah,
So on what basis would we table? Not sure and we voted, we can't move forward right now, but why, how do we table? You know what I mean? I'm not sure. There's a condition, a basis by which we do that, because we don't have enough humans to vote, I don't know.
And who knows if they come back and we have a full board, you know?
you guys decide what you,
What's the guarantee of all?
Right, we don't know, yeah.
Everybody gonna be there the next time, or?
that's the $1 million question. Yeah, and we're missing one tonight that we thought was gonna be here.
I had a question, like, my business right now has been there for 20 years, and if they came in, they're actually gonna do less of what I do. If I stay there, I'm gonna move to Fruitport. But if I stay there, I'll be actually more of what you don't want there right now. I have big semis that come in, you know, on a weekly basis and unload bulk supply wood and stuff, and that's been fine for 20 years, and no one's ever said a thing.
Well, that's what Paula had mentioned too, is, you know, that was obviously probably before our time here. I've been here 16 years and, you know, so whatever happened previously, how it got there, I don't know. You know, I guess we'd have to research it and figure out how it got in when it did. But, moving forward, we're trying to get our ducks in a row and follow our master plan and whatnot.
Even like, two doors, like a block down, you have the tool and die shop.
Yeah,
I mean, they're making a lot of noise, and they're not going anywhere.
yeah.
I don't know if it's helpful or not, but, we do have a copy of that original appeals, if that would help the consideration process. We have a copy we can provide to you if you don't have that.
That's why you should probably come back and be a little bit more prepared, and maybe we have 7 people here. Different mix of personalities like me and maybe not like me, but, maybe something completely different than all 4 of us.
Okay.
But, I mean, I can't speak for the board, but that's my thoughts, if that helps.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to
I
come
don't
back.
think it's gonna cost them any more money, right, fee-wise? So but it's time-wise, I don't know what your timeline is.
Will we know if everybody's here on like a couple days before that, yeah, everybody plans on showing up, so you'll have seven?
It's, you have to check with Paula. And, I mean, you know, she sends out invites to people to let them know. And there's no, we have 2 alternates, 7 members, with the hopes that between 9 people, 7 will show up. And that's the intent, and that's all we can do. I mean, we can't twist our arm and make them come, but, you know, she'll send it out, say this is a meeting, hold the date, and in hopes that everyone will show, and that's why we have 2 extras, just to make sure that we do have the 7. So we make every attempt, is what I'm saying, to make sure that we have 7 people here. But we can't guarantee, obviously, because tonight's an example of that.
It might be worth your while to check on a Monday to see if there's been enough, that we get an RSVP, so that might help you, yeah.
Sure.
And, yeah, that would be our intent is to continue the process.
Okay. Nothing venture, nothing gain. I mean, it's, you know, no more, you probably have better luck. I don't know. Some of the members are new, that I haven't met yet, so I have no idea what they're, so.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Chair,
Okay.
there is, I would encourage the board to consider tabling this matter until a future date. I'd be happy to bring back more historical information on the property in the district,
Okay.
as well as you could table it until we can have a larger presence of ZBA members. And there is one additional item of business on the agenda after
Okay.
that.
Motion to table until the next available date, should we say that?
The next available date is February 14.
Okay,
If
so.
you can take a straw poll and see if people will be present at that time.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's hard to tell them. I mean, you don't know, you can't guarantee, but,
I think I'm in town. Yeah, I don't.
okay, need a motion to table the, this, PZBA 23-003.
004, I apologize.
Oh, 4, I'm looking at
That's
this.
in here.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read the wrong one. Yeah. She had it right, I had it wrong. Until February 14th,
I'll make the motion to table.
okay? Motion by Dan? Support by Tom?
And do we want to say February 14th, Paula, or next scheduled meeting? 'Cause you know, who knows what,
Well,
hopefully it'll be
We
the
have-
14th.
We have to, I guess, right? We have to say the next available will be the 14th. Whether or not we show is another story.
Well, they're planning on the 14th, I think.
I understand,
Yeah.
yeah. We can't say we can push it to the 28th. I don't think we can do that, right?
It's board discretion, you're tabling the case.
I'd just leave it at the 14th,
Yeah.
and then if they have to change it, maybe there's some way they can.
Okay, motion by Tom, motion by Dan, support by Tom. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's tabled. The next thing is the election of officers. I'm not sure how to do that with only 4 of us here.
We table that too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is that something we can do? Can I
Yes,
make
you
that
can table it.
Can I make that motion to table the election of officers till the next meeting?
yes.
Support.
Support by Dan?
Tom.
Tom, okay. Okay, motion to table the election of officers by Randy, supported by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's tabled. Okay,
Some info?
I do have 2 items to share with the board. The first is a save the date for the board members on February 21st. We are planning to hold a joint meeting with the City Commission, the Planning Commission, and the ZBA. The Standale DDA will also be invited to this meeting. It's the first working session on amendments to the master plan. There's a few particular sites that need attention and a few other components of the master plan that need some clarification. We're learning as we go through, and this is tied in partly with the moratorium that's currently in place on residential developments over 3.5 units per acre. That will be at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, the 21st of February, at Fire Station 2 on Lake Michigan Drive. I will send you an email with this information. I just wanted to make sure I let you know. We're planning to provide some sandwiches and drinks, work through a meal, and see how much progress we can make on the master plan amendments. The second item, and I have misplaced my brochure amongst all of my papers, is there's some training available from the Michigan Association of Planning for Zoning Boards of Appeals. I will email you that information as well. The city is happy to sponsor anyone who would like to go. There's a few different trainings. Some are remote, some are in person, and if any of them are interested, if you're interested in any of them, please let me know, and I'd be happy to get you signed up for that.
Are these ones in Ottawa? I've been to a couple out in Ottawa County at the, it's attorneys that put it on, I can't think of the.
Oh, that's a different
Is it?
organization.
Okay,
Yep. But if there are other trainings you're interested in, I'd be happy to
Okay.
look at them and try to get you support from the city to attend.
okay, sounds good.
That's all that I have for the board tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Randy,
Support. Good night.
support by Dan. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, meeting's adjourned.
All right. Good job, Mr.